In this video, we're going to finish creating our city beachfront by adding the buildings to the first block. Once again, I've created some buildings using some simple geometry and textures. You'll find the buildings folder in your working files folder, and mine is on my desktop. So let's get started by dragging that folder into the project assets. Once again, I'm going to switch to the Finder, and I'm going to hide the others. And here's my buildings folder, which I'm just going to drag right in here to objects. And let's go back to Unity and look at them in Unity this time. Unity will import them very nicely for us. We'll wait a moment, and then we'll take a look at what's in this folder. Okay, done. The one thing that's a little bit different that I've done is I've split the building so that there's the first floor or the first story and then the remaining stories in the building. I do that because the first story is usually slightly taller than the remaining stories in a building. And also it allows me to kind of play around and have different tops on different bottoms, but you can do your buildings however you would like. So that's why you'll see them building 1, story 1, and then building 1's stories 2 through 4, and the same as we go through the rest of the buildings. So it's going to make it a little more complicated for me to build the city because I'll have to put the first story in, and then I'll have to stack the other stories on top. And if we just quickly take a look at the textures here, you'll see we have the roof and then the buildings themselves. Pretty straightforward. And I'll just click through the rest of them here so you can see them all. And of course they're textured, and when they're textured there may also be some UV mapping to replicate parts. For example, this part here I believe is replicated about 4 times on the first floor. If we look at building 5, story 1, you'll see there it's replicated 4 times. So there's some textured tiling going on here as well as mapping. Anyhow, let's get started and build our city block. Let me just adjust the view here a little bit. And again, we're going to be using vertex snapping to line things up nicely. Let's grab building 2, story 1, this one here. We're going to move it back into this corner back here. And again, I'm going to grab the vertex down here and snap it there. And then let's get that same building 2 and get the remaining stories. And once again, we're going to vertex snap them up on top of the building. Boom, there we go. And as you go through this, check that you're getting everything aligned properly. You might need to zoom in a little more closely than I'm zooming in. Now let's grab building 5. I'm going to rotate a bit because I want building 5 over here in this corner. And we'll grab the first story of building 5. And again, I'm going to grab this bottom vertex by holding V and dragging. And then building 5, the remaining stories. And they're going to go on top of building 5 right there. And you can build your city block any way you want. This just happens to be how I've decided to lay mine out. You don't have to lay yours out the same way. Building 4, story 1, we're going to drag right in. And we're going to grab that vertex at the bottom and bring that over here. And we'll probably want the top of building 4, the remaining stories. And we'll drop those on top. I'm going to grab this vertex here, snap it up on top. And over in the other side, let's grab building 2 and the first story of building 2. Snap that right in here. And the remaining stories of building 2. Drop that right on top here. And let's drop 2 more buildings in here and we'll be done. So let's grab building 1. Haven't used it yet. Snap that vertex right there. And where's the top of building 1? Grab this vertex here and snap it there. And finally, let's put in building 3, because I think that's one we haven't used. Let me just frame on building 3. Get myself a bit closer, grab this vertex here and snap it there. And let's grab the roof of building 3, or the upper stories of building 3. Bring them out. Grab that vertex there. Now you notice I've left a hole in the middle of my building block. If I was doing this and I had something that would fly over the city, I would fill that hole in. But for what we're doing here, I think it's perfectly fine to leave a hole in the city block. And I think that looks pretty good. So we've got roads, sidewalks, buildings. You notice there is a bit of glare lighting wise on the roads and the sidewalks, and that's because I'm using the standard shader and I haven't done anything about it. You might want to do something about that. You can use the legacy shader and you won't get so much glare on those roads. I think at this point, we finished building the city block that we're going to use for our VR walkabout. And so I'm going to end this video here. And in the next series of videos, we can look at different ways to navigate around this city block in Unity.